The magnificent Rik Mayall was a charismatic comedian with boundless energy. He is a lost legend of comedy. Rik left an indelible mark on British comedy with his electric personality that stole every frame he was in.
It was me! It was me!
Be it in The Young Ones, Bottom, The New Statesman, or Blackadder. Let's celebrate his incredible life in comedy. Rik was born on the 7th of March 1958, the second child of parents who were drama teachers, which enabled him to start acting from a very young age in his parents' plays. When at Manchester University he met future longtime comedy partner Ade Edmondson, as well as Ben Elton and Rik Mayall, with whom he co-wrote the legendary sitcom The Young Ones. In 1979, after graduating from university, Rik and Ade made their duo as a double act at London's The Comedy Store under the name The Dangerous Brothers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen! We are the Dangerous Brothers!
Where they displayed their slapstick and crude humour that both would become known for. The stage gave Rik the chance to also create his own solo characters, such as the socially inept Kevin Turvey.
Well, we got these stairs in our house that attaches the first floor to the bottom floor.
Or the pretentious poet Rik.
I don't know if any of you are into poetry at all.
Shut up!
Following the success of their anarchic comedy, Rik and Ade collaborated with other acts including Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders, Alexei Sayle and Arnold Brown, Nigel Planer and Peter Richardson to establish their own comedy club, The Comic Strip, at Soho's Revue Bar Boulevard Theatre in 1980. The Comic Strip soon created ripples through the comedy world, and inevitably these generation-defining comedians would eventually make their way from London's Soho to our television screens, when in 1982 they were picked up for the launch of Channel 4 with The Comic Strip Presents, a series of self-contained films that continued the alternative style of comedy they were known for in their stand-up shows.
Shut up! Alright, that's it, Brenda! Bang! 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 Oh, crikey, call the police, somebody!
At the same time, Mayall, Emerson, Planer and Sayle were signed by the BBC to star in The Young Ones. The Young Ones was an outrageous, surreal comedy that ran for 2 series in 1982 and 1984. It portrays 4 undergraduate students living in squalor while attending Scumbag College in London.
Listen, Neil, you'd better get all this cleared up before the first guests arrive, or you're into rubble!
Initially met with disbelief by the BBC when shown the finished project, it was aired just a week after Channel 4's launch in an effort to counter the new channel's own alternative comedy output. Rik and Ade brought their familiar violent slapstick comedy to the sitcom, making the show easily stand out from any other BBC show at the time or even since. Rik's character was simply known as Rik, a loud, brash, pompous poet, a self-proclaimed anarchist, and a giant Cliff Richard fan.
Oh, Cliff! Sometimes it must be difficult not to feel as if you really are a cliff when fascists keep trying to push you over it.
Rik's unlimited energy enabled him to draw the eyes of audiences whenever he was on screen. 1987 had an attempt to replicate The Young Ones' triumph with Rik, Adrian and Nigel in the Ben Elton written comedy sitcom Filthy Rich and Catflap.
This is the BBC, not a place of entertainment!
The show acts as a satirical take on celebrity culture and showbiz, with Richie Rich, an out-of-work TV star, desperate to find fame with the help of his sleazy agent Ralph Filthy, and drunk minder Edward Catflap. Filthy Rich and Catflap is often seen as a spiritual follow-up to The Young Ones, although Richie and Catflap feel like unpolished versions of Rik and Ade's characters in future sitcom Bottom.
Well, wonders will never cease. Eddie Catflap's been thinking.
It regularly had the characters break the fourth wall to talk to the audience, but there are not enough people watching for the show to be regarded as a success. Regretfully, after 1 series, a second was never made after an apparent falling out between Rik and Ben. Rik made sporadic cameo appearances in the much-loved British sitcom Blackadder, beginning with an often forgotten role as Mad Gerald in the final episode of The Blackadder in 1983. But most remember him for playing the outlandish Lord Flashheart in the first episode of Blackadder 2, Bells.
Flash by name, Flash by nature.
And in the episode Private Plane for Blackadder Goes Forth.
Doesn't mean that I'm not sick of this damn war. The blood, the noise, the endless poetry.
When Ben Elton was brought in to write Blackadder with Richard Curtis from Series 2 onwards, he was able to persuade Rik to play Flashheart by promising his lines would be funnier than Rowan's. He certainly made a lasting impression on the series, despite his limited appearances. He even got to reunite on screen with Ade Edmondson. When Blackadder returned with a one-off special in 2000, Rik again joined the cast, this time playing the arrogant Robin Hood. A man dripping in so much talent deserves to get the Hollywood call, and that's exactly what happened when in 1991, Rik Mayall became the rowdy, trouble-making imaginary friend in the movie Drop Dead Fred.
Look at you! You're all older! You're even uglier! Ugh! I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to be sick all over you immediately. Lie down.
It should come as no surprise that Rik fit the bill perfectly. It's as if they wrote the movie for him, as Rik is unleashed in front of our eyes to be a full-on maniac. The new Statesman was a sitcom about a slimy, far-right MP called Alan Bastard, played by Rik.
What I oppose is the so-called woman's right to choose. It should be the state's right to choose. Ugly, stupid, poor people should not be allowed to have children.
A ruthless, greedy, amoral character, Alan has ambitions to climb the political ladder and doesn't mind being utterly detestable in the process.
Well, I, for one, would never use any cosmetic until it had been methodically dripped into the eyes of some feeble-minded rodent. Let us make no mistake, animals were put on this planet for man's convenience.
Rik convincingly parodied Thatcherite conservatives, and although visually less outrageous than his previous sitcoms, Rik's charisma shines through the screen, despite portraying a character empty of redeeming qualities. The sitcom was a huge success for ITV, and Rik said that after the first series, audiences praised his good looks, but after the second, they complimented his acting skills. The show had 4 series and 3 specials. Rik and Ade once again reunited to write and star in the surreal, violent sitcom Bottom, taking their unapologetic anarchy to the next level.
Hello, Mr. Gasman!
Yes, hello. You what?
Hello, Mr. Gasman!
Yes, hello again. I wonder if I could just read your...
Gasman! Gasman!
Similar to their previous sitcoms, they play 2 flatmates who constantly find themselves in absurd situations. The program garnered a large cult following, helping it spawn a movie and a series of stage shows, Bottom Live, which filled large arenas of adoring fans across the UK, and thus became a huge commercial as well as critical success. The live shows often had Rik and Ade hilariously breaking into laughter when things inevitably went wrong.
I've got some sad and tragic news. Yeah, not very upset about it. You looked a lot sadder than that in rehearsal.
It was Bottom that cemented Rik and Ade as one of the best comedy partnerships in British history, ensuring their double act will be remembered for years to come. Rik Mayall sadly died on the 9th of June 2014 from a heart attack in his home at the young age of 56, leaving behind a wife and 3 children. A small funeral was held in the Devon village of Ditcham with his family and past colleagues. Comedy partner and friend Ade reflected on the time they worked together as some of the most carefree, stupid days he's ever had, and he was privileged to work with him.
I think of the writing room all the time. We spent more time in the writing room than anywhere else. And I remember just laughing like drains.
Ben Elton said when he first met Rik, he knew he was a great and extraordinary comic spirit. And comedian Greg Davis, who had Rik play his character's dad in his sitcom Man Down, doesn't know anyone who made him laugh more than Rik. The world became a lot less funny when he tragically passed away 10 years ago, but we are lucky to still have the chance to enjoy Rik's performances. Sadly though, there will never be another man like the legend Rik Mayall. If you want to watch more videos on classic British comedy and comedians, tap one of these links or visit the channel page. And leave a comment with your favourite moments from Rik Mayall's career. Thanks for watching and
Bon voyage!